Welcome everybody. I want to welcome you back for another video. Today I'm going to be talking about why life is only about perception or your perspective on it. Which is going to be the title, but in a different way, but who cares? So, perception or perspective. Now, before I start, I want to read you a quote from Life Strategies, a book that I really just enjoy reading right now. There is no reality, only perception. Perception is the level at which you assign meaning to the sensation you receive from the world. Now, in this chapter, Dr. Phil talks about why there is no reality. There is no just one thing. What I mean is that there is no absolute reality. There's no such thing as a absolute real thing. We live our lives based on our perception, our perspective on certain events that life presents to us. Now, if for example, I present you a camera and you sit next to me, okay? And just imagine that you sit next to me. And in a room, a person comes in and puts a camera on the table. Now, I can say that that is a tool to make videos. You, on the other hand, can say that is a metal subject because it is made of metals, obviously. We are presented the same exact object, a camera, in front of us. But I had a different view from you. I had a different perception. I had a different perspective on that same exact tool than you. Same as with life. We are presented. We live in this life all together. And every single person on this earth has a different perspective that develops as they grow up. Now, as you become an adult, you will have so-called a fixed perception, which can change over time, but it's going to be harder. As a child, it is so easy because we get influenced by our parents, society, social media, peers, teachers, whoever it might be. And we change very, very quickly because we have to adapt. But once you become an adult, your perception on life is going to be somehow fixed. Like a little bit is going to be fixed. And it's going to get harder and harder and harder to change their perspective. Not until something big happens, but there is going to be a fixed perception about life. A unique, your own perception about life. Somebody can say life is unfair because you grew up in a poor family, a poor environment, and you didn't have the money to go to university, get the chances to learn something new. Somebody can say it is unfair. Somebody can say that there is a God. Or somebody can say that there is no God. That is an atheist or a Christian. Life is one thing. Like, it is... Imagine it like this. We all together are in this big museum, in this big art gallery, and we have a painting in front of us, and it is called life. Every single person in that room, 8 billion people, are gonna think a different thing about life. Sure, there's gonna be people like saying that you can categorize in, but every single person has a unique perspective about life. Perspective is everything. Perspective is everything. Perception is everything. We read books. We listen to podcasts. We consume media. We consume social media. We consume some kind of information, which is a perception from the other person. When you listen to podcasts and you listen to those interviews, we learn the perspective of that person that is being interviewed. Like if you, for example, if you watch Modern Wisdom and you just saw a clip or a video, a podcast that in which Matthew McConaughey, the actor, the famous actor, is being interviewed. There's gonna be moments in which you learn about the perception that they have about life. Like Matthew McConaughey has this unique perception about marriage. Like marriage is God given and it must be God centered, and you have to date the person every single day. Like when you marry somebody, it is not gonna stop. Marrying somebody and having kids does not mean that you stop dating the person. And he has so many other perceptions about life. Now, we can adapt to those perceptions. Or we can say, oh, that is not my perception. That is not my type. That is not my kind of information that I wanted. And we just move on. When you choose to adapt, when you choose to learn from that person, all of a sudden the perception that they had a little bit is going to be just wired into your brain, into your own perception. If, for example, you heard that there's always going to be a reason why by somebody's famous, like a monk or a podcaster or a quote in the book, for example, in the book, all of a sudden you start to question why, and you will change your perspective about that every single thing that happens into your life, there's a reason behind it. Sure, you don't have to adapt to the mentality if you don't want to. If you don't have to accept the perspective or the perception that they had about that every single thing, event or moment has a reason, and you just can move on. That is up to you. That is your perspective. That is your perspective alone. I cannot change that. I cannot just open up your brain and say you need to change that and fix everything and just rewire your own entire brain. Now, no, I cannot do that. What I can do is give you information. I can put out into the world my perspective about life, my perception about life, or a certain event, certain topic, certain moment, or a certain person. That is all. You can choose. Either you want to adopt, or you can just refuse it. That is up to you. I cannot change that. I am not God. I cannot say from this point on, when I talk every single word that comes out of my mouth, you have to rewire your brain and change your own perspective. No, there is gonna be a robot. Like if you put in A, then the robot is gonna only think about A. That is a robot. That is a non-living robot. That is not a human. A human is uniquely designed by God himself. So uniquely that 8 billion people do not look the same. They can just have the similar traits, but there are no identical people. Even twins are not identical in their fingerprints, which is so crazy to me. Now, back to the point. Perception is everything. I'm going to give you one more example. I think and I believe you heard the quote, if they wanted to, they would. If they wanted to, they would. Now this quote, this famous line is mostly said in dating scene. Like it is in the industry in dating, it is most likely said like that the person that you have a crush on, if they would put in the effort. If they love you, if they have a crush on you as well, they will put in the hours, they put in the love, the effort, the time, sweat, and the money. Now somebody might have taken that advice and could have waited until they have made the move, like the crush made the move. And somebody had a different outcome than they were promised. Like they could have a bad outcome or a good outcome. Either way, they chose to accept this one line, this line which said, if they wanted to, they would. If the friends wanted to stay in your life, they will act properly to stay in your life by showing up, by just calling you out on the crazy things that you do. Like crazy things, I mean negative things, but if they wanted to, they would. This line is in the dating scene, in relationship. It is so well known in the relationship space. And you can have a different perspective about it. You can have a different perspective about it because something bad happened to you, or the outcome was not that you were promised by in that video. And you choose not to accept it anymore. And you move on and you say, I gotta make the first move in order to get the person that I want, get the crush that I want. Which could mean that you change the perspective from if they wanted to, they would, and take no action, into life rewards action. That is up to you. Because every single day we experience different things. And our perspective about life changes every single time we experience something new. Like an event, we get rejected, we get accepted, we get into a relationship, we don't get a relationship, we break up, we lose our money, we don't go to the gym, and we get, overweight. Those different experiences, they're gonna be shaping your perception about life. Like if you're overweight and you saw a reel about lose weight, go to the gym again, because that is not the highest form that God has called you to do, then you change your perspective all of a sudden. From being overweight, and that it's okay to being overweight, now suddenly you change it to, I need to get fit. That is a change. That happened because you watched a reel. Because in that moment you invested the time to just say to yourself, okay, I'm going to lose the weight because this is not the form that I respect myself in. It is all about perception. All about perception. And all about perspective. You can view life, you can view a single event differently from the person next to you. As I said in the beginning of the video, if I put a camera in front of you, if a person puts a camera in front of us, like you and me, we gonna have a different perception about the same single object that is in front of us. That is how unique we are. Like, I can show you this book, and somebody can say, oh, this is called Life Strategies. Why it is called Life Strategies? Or somebody can say, oh, that is Dr. Phil. You see that? It is a singular object in my hand. And somebody saw Life Strategies first, and somebody was focused on Dr. Phil. That is how unique we are. You can see the same singular object, the same experience as something completely different. Like if somebody hits you, you can just say, oh, I'm person A, and I'm going to just outrage them and just hit them back, punch them back. Or you can be B and say, oh, I'm not going to hit back, I'm just going to defend myself and think, why did they hit me? And just take a brief moment to say, was that a mistake? Was that on purpose? And then you strike back, whether on the decision that you made. But it was a simple and same event that happened into your life. And two people both saw a different perception about that same event. And why I want to put out this video is that we have a certain perception. And sometimes just because they are famous on social media, they are popular on social media, they look like they have the most wisdom in the world. If you don't want to adapt to that perception, you don't have to. Like it is not a must. You don't have to adjust your life, your own perception to theirs. That is their own perception. Like somebody can say grind hard, which are the red pillars. Like grind hard, you have to dominate females, and if you don't get rich right now, you're gonna stay a loser forever. That is a perspective, a perception about life. Like if you don't work hard, which is like to some degree true, like you have to work hard in order to maintain a living in life. But the red pillars are going to the extreme. Like they say, if you don't work hard, you're gonna be a loser forever, and you're a failure. If you don't dominate females, like just hit them or just be aggressive to them and just push-pull methoding to them, you are a failure. That are red pillars. That is a perception about life. And somebody chooses to just follow that perception because they resonate with that perception and they say, oh, I like this perception, I like this concept, I like this idea, I like this perspective about life that they have. I'm gonna adopt to that. I'm going to think more about that, act properly to that concept, and put that into my brain. Or somebody can say, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna say, if they wanted to, they would, and I'm gonna focus on myself, just start building myself, getting in shape, get the money, get financially free, and then I'm gonna start dating. There are two different perspectives about the same event called life. In this life, you are given a limited time, and how you choose to perceive and how you want to see the world is up to you. It's really up to you. I cannot change that. Again, I cannot cut open your brain and say, stop doing that and move the different direction. No, that is only what God can do. I can give you information. I can say, don't do that. That is my perception. That is my point of view about life. Because I had previous experiences about this same event that somebody didn't have, and they wanted to experience that. And I say, just from a life mentor, a person that has lived way more than the younger person than me, I want to say to them, don't do this or do that better. Do this more quickly. But that is a perception. I cannot change that. If they don't want to, they will not. Like if you don't want to eat broccoli, even if your parents hit you, after 20, 30, 15 years, you still cannot change the perspective, the mindset, the concept that I do not want to eat broccoli out of their brain. You cannot change that. If a person decides to, I'm going to start following this concept. Maybe it is Christianity, maybe it is atheism, maybe it's Judaism, maybe it's Buddhism, whatever religion or concept that you want to put onto your lives, onto your eyes, and just view them as the truth, that is up to you. That is free will, that is up to you. If you want to go out, experience as much life as you want, then go do it. I cannot change that. Unless you experience a painful setback moment and decide, now I'm going to start focusing on myself and I'm going to reset and retake the responsibility that I have in my life. That is up to you. I cannot change that. I am just a messenger. I cannot say to you, command to you, and change your whole perspective about life. I can just put information into your brain. I can share my perception about life, and that is all I can do. That's all I can do. I cannot claim, I cannot abuse you, I cannot rape you, I cannot threaten you just because you didn't take my advice, take my perception about life. I cannot do that. Like, how crazy would it be if I did not take the advice from somebody online and all of a sudden they threaten me? Like, the world will be crazy. Back to the point. Perception is everything. You have your own perception. And if you don't want to choose to follow a certain perception, a certain concept, a certain POV about life, Don't do it. You don't have to, and you don't will. You're never gonna do it. Why? If you have a fixed mindset that this is bad, this is good, then you're gonna act properly to that. Like, if somebody says get financially free early in life, and you don't want to get the stress that to handle the stress with getting rich early, then you don't act on it. Then you don't go this direction. You know what I mean? You start to part from that direction and go another way, a more relaxing, a more stress relieving way. There are two ways, for example, about how Alex Hormozi, the entrepreneur for acquisition.com, views life. In your 20s, all gurus say about 20s. In your 20s, you can either live them up or work them up. What it means is that you can go out, experience as much failure, or go out every single weekend, every single day, and just live your life stress-free. Don't worry about work. Or if you want to build a legacy, which you can also do through living out your life in your 20s, you're gonna do it. Like, then you just work, don't care about social connection, and just work. Find the right people, just work to build this legacy. This video was not turning out this rageous, but I just want to share the importance that if you don't want to follow a certain concept, a certain POV about a certain perception from somebody else into your life, you don't have to. Like, you don't have to compare every single moment whether you're living up to that concept that somebody has lived and somebody said this is the absolute truth. If you don't want to live that concept, you don't have to. You can just depart from it, search for another perspective. But it will take time to get to this fixed perception about life. You have to experience way more. You have to read more, listen more, experience more. That is my perception of how to learn and to get the fixed perception, this absolute perception. That is my perception. That is my perspective. That is my point of view in life. You don't have to follow. Again, if you don't want to, you don't have to, and you never will. You can readjust in the future or after 10 years, but right now, if you don't want to eat that, if you don't want to eat broccoli, if you don't want to take an advice, if you don't want to go to the gym, you don't have to. But there's going to be consequences. This is not to shame you, but there's going to be consequences to every single thing that you do. If you choose not to live up your 20s, like don't go out and socialize and party and sometimes just go out for a drink, you will have lost the 10 years, a decade, literally a decade of experience in your life to just go out with your friends, take time in socializing, make the investment of investing in quality relationships. But you have worked. There's always pros and cons. Again, with the same example, if you work your 20s or live out your 20s, invest in relationships, and just do what your flesh wants to say, good, you will have a good time, which is a con. But the bad thing is that it will take much more time to build a legacy. And again, and again, and again, this is my perception about life. This is my point of view of life. Wrapping this video up, summarizing everything that I said. It is about perception of how you... It is how you view life, which is a perception. Everything in this life, there's no reality. There's only a perception, a belief, a concept that you want to follow. Your own unique perception about life. I cannot change. I can just give you advice, and it is up to you to just take it or leave it. And again, there's no reality. There's no absolute this is right or that is right, this concept is right or that concept is wrong. There's only a perception. And you choose. I choose. We every single day choose the perception that we want to view our lives with.